I almost gave my son an AI-generated theology book. I'm Denise Wilson, and while on Amazon recently, an ad popped up for this book, Systematic Theology for Teens. Now, my immediate thought was my son would love that. He loves theology, and his birthday was just a few days away, so I decided to order it. I'm usually careful to vet books for my kids and for myself, but for some reason I clicked without investigating. After it arrived, it sat on my counter unopened for 2 days until I came across an article that set off the alarms. The article was written by Tim Challies and was entitled, AI is Coming for Your Systematic Theology. How incredible is that? Just days after ordering a book on systematic theology, I read an article warning me about the use of AI in that type of book. So after reading the article, I grabbed my copy of Systematic Theology for Teens and began flipping through, and sure enough, the book had all the markings of an AI-generated book. These AI books are everywhere, and you see ads everywhere. So how can you tell if a book has been AI-generated? I'm going to give you 7 things to look for. Number 1, the first clue, a cover that appears to be AI-generated. Now, that doesn't mean that the contents are created by AI, but it's a clue that there could be issues inside. Number 2, a long title and subtitle. For example, the full title for the book that I purchased is Systematic Theology for Teens, Essential Christian Foundations to Help Teenagers Find Life Direction, Gain Moral Clarity, and Make a Positive Impact in the World Through Faith. Now, that's a really long title. The reason AI books have such long titles is to help them show up in searches. So the long title is for search engine optimization. Traditional publishers and legitimate independent publishers usually use shorter subtitles. The third thing to look for is that the book was independently published. Now, I want to be clear, there are a lot of good self-published books out there. So this is only a marker when combined with other warning signs. Some AI-generated books, however, will list a publisher. So it's not only independently published books, but if you look closely at the publisher, you'll often see red flags. For example, the book Systematic Theology for Kids, it lists the author as Edifaith Publishing. Now, that might seem to give the book more credibility, but if you think about it, books aren't written by publishing companies. Books are written by people. A theology book with no named human author, no named editor, no doctrinal statement, and no clear accountability should make a reader cautious, even if there is a website, which there is for this one. Number 4, a recent publication date. Most of the AI books on Amazon were published in 2025 and 2026. ChatGPT didn't launch publicly until November 30th, 2022, so the widespread public use of AI is still very recent. The 5th thing to look for is an author headshot that appears to be AI generated. Check out the image for Matthew J. Collins, the alleged author of Systematic Theology for Teens. The image appears to be created by AI. And to be sure people understand he's a Christian author and a really spiritual guy, notice the cross in the background. The 6th thing to look for is a vague author bio. The Amazon bio for this Matthew J. Collins says he leads a youth ministry in New England and serves as an associate pastor at a community church, overseeing youth and young adult ministries. So he's a youth minister in New England. Well, we're in New England. He's an associate pastor at a community church. What community church? I couldn't find any information on Matthew J. Collins outside of Amazon. You know, a theology book with such a vague bio gives me reason to be cautious. And I'm not saying that categorically this person couldn't exist, but I am saying I couldn't verify the claims made in the author bio. Most authors have a website and you can check them out, you can check what they believe. So it's a warning sign and just something to be aware of. Finally, number 7, there's no attribution given for the Bible translation used in the book, or there's a wrong attribution. Throughout this book, Systematic Theology for Teens, all scripture quotes are from the NIV. When you look inside, every quotation is. Yet, at the back of the book, the reference page says, Scriptures provided by the King James Bible 2017. Now, the first issue with that is obviously the problem with the date. I'm not sure what 2017 has to do with the King James Version, but the biggest problem here is since the NIV was used in the book, it should have been acknowledged on the copyright page. To not do so is a violation of copyright. I used several translations in my book, and one of them was the NIV. And so in my book, this is what it says on that page. It says, Scripture quotations marked NIV are taken from the Holy Bible, New International Version, etc. So that's proper attribution. One other thing I want to mention is the fact that authors must disclose to Amazon that AI was used in their books. However, those authors aren't required to pass on that information to the readers. And that needs to change. So that's just another thing. So the next question is, just because AI was used to write a book, does that necessarily make it a bad book? And the answer to that is no, it doesn't. But at the same time, yes, it does. I say no because the book could actually be doctrinally sound. AI can gather from good sources as well as bad, but how would you know? We don't know who the people are who are producing these books, who is in fact checking and editing to be sure that the information is theologically sound. When I wrote my book, I had several theological edits. It was super important to me that I avoid error. It's a big responsibility to write a book that deals with doctrine. Reading is a very intimate experience. Someone else's words are entering your mind and potentially shaping the way you think. But a book that was written by AI comes with no accountability and lots of room for error. Let me share an example of the book that I alluded to before that shows lots of signs of AI. This book says a lot of things that are doctrinally sound. But the biggest issue that I noted is the fact that not once is Scripture used to back up what's being said. I'm not sure how you can have a theology book that doesn't use the Bible, but somehow this book managed to do it. Let me wrap up by saying that whether or not AI was used to help write a book, the issue is discernment. When it comes to theology, we need to know who is teaching us, what they believe, and whether the content is biblically faithful. And we need to have all that in place before we buy books, especially ones advertised on Amazon. We need to slow down, check the author, the publisher, endorsements, and look for the 7 clues I've outlined in this video. The fact that I didn't vet this book before purchasing it, it's a little embarrassing, but having said that, I'm glad it happened. My eyes are now wide open and I have the opportunity to share this with you. I posted about this situation on my Facebook page and received comments from a few people who I would consider mature Christians, and they too saw the ad and considered buying the book. It's easy to be fooled nowadays. I hope this has been helpful. If so, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. Lord willing, I will release a new video on the 2nd and the 4th Thursday each month. Theology matters, what we read matters, what our children read matters. Now more than ever, we need to be vigilant.